Auriel Schluter, what a wonderful opportunity it is to talk to you for the Coalition for Marriage YouTube channel. And I know you've got a history, a long and illustrious, if I might say, history of marriage counselling and marriage support. And it's great to talk to you today. And we're going to look at the subject of why covenants are important in the discussion of marriage as opposed to contracts, and the whole difference and what it means to individuals and the difference it makes. But before we do any of that, I wonder, could you just take a couple of moments and tell us about your own personal history and background around marriage support and marriage coaching, marriage counselling, whatever phrase you want to use?
Yes, well, actually, I trained in the 90s and have worked in various different outfits as a counsellor. Now, I did do a little bit of marriage training specifically, but I'm not really a focused marriage counsellor. That isn't my genre that I'm offering people, but I do have married couples coming to me all the time. And so I keep, doing extra training and picking other people's brains and things. And I just found myself getting into it, trying to say, no, maybe you shouldn't. No, they all want to come to me. So it's just built up over time. It's a learning curve for me, but I'm happy to share my learning curve with others because I think I have gained quite a lot of insights on the way.
Yeah, well, that's marvelous. And we've got some of your materials that we sharing the screen and having a look through in a few moments' time. But why is this? I mean, there are lots of different areas and discussions around the whole couples counselling, marriage counselling kind of genre, everything from communication and conflict and intimacy and all sorts of things that people instantly jump to. But why is this notion of covenant, if you like, the most important first thing to look at, do you think?
Well, I think that I've often found people who've come to me, they've had a good, they've had a church wedding with vows that are really covenantal. But when I hear them talking, particularly to each other, I think they're not actually living a covenantal marriage. They're living what I'd call a contract marriage. And even just pointing that out to them makes them sit up because they took vows that maybe they didn't understand at the time.
It's very prescient because the government have just released a consultation around weddings. And the headlines are all about getting married on the beach and all that sort of stuff. But actually, when you look at the detail of the 171-page document, it says things like no promise is necessary anymore. No promise at all. Just that you accept. You don't have to use the word husband, wife. You can use the word spouse or whatever you want. And even that in religious ceremonies, actions can be deemed as acceptance without words if the officiant and or other witnesses deemed you have accepted. So you talk about the promise that we make now, but the government proposes to completely remove that. And even allow for the words themselves to be gone and for an officiant to deem that you're married, And so I say that because I think it's more prescient now than it ever has been, because the actual existence of that covenant itself, the acknowledgement in the wedding process, is being fundamentally undermined and removed. So it's great that we're talking about it.
It's almost that they need to have some wording before the vows are made saying, I will let you down.
Yeah.
But the vows I'm going to make are vows I will, with God's help, try to keep.
That's right.
But we will let each other down. We will disappoint each other.
Yeah.
But if we've got a covenant basis, that gives us a pathway back.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and we'll get into your materials if you want in a moment. But you're absolutely right, and I say this when I run my own marriage courses, that you will marry a monster. You do marry a monster, and in fact, you're a monster too. And the whole point of the covenant is recognizing that you're going to quickly discover that you married a monster, and actually, it's your lifetime's work and your lifetime's joy to actually deal with that and work with that. And in fact, from that deep realization comes the greatest amount of joy you can ever imagine. But the only thing that gets you there is the covenant, the fact that we've made a promise beyond ourselves.
And we are all still work in progress. So we're all going to change. So the person you marry may be different in 10 years' time. And if you haven't got that covenant promise, what are people going to say? Well, he's not the same, walk away.
Yeah, and in fact, that hopefully the person that you marry will be different because of your influence on them in 10 years' time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the fact that I'll say this in the pre-marriage stuff, that you're not looking for for girls, you're not looking for a statue of David. You're looking for a lump of marble, that has the potential to become a statue of David, because that takes a long time, the way we work with each other, et cetera, et cetera.
I think that some marriage courses in churches that when people come to me having done those, sometimes it sounds as if they've been given a sort of template that they have to then walk through, rather than recognizing that their own relationship is the marriage, and then they need to shape it in certain ways, rather than, this is what it looks like, and they're all trying to be who they're not.
Yeah. And that's so true. So we go through covenants and friendship and communication and conflict and forgiveness and intimacy, and then legacy. And the legacy is actually the way you build yours and the way you shape yours influences generations to come, because they watch you and they see you, and you're raising the grandfathers and grandmothers of the future. And your marriage will influence generations to come. Absolutely right. So shall I bring up your slides? And
let's look at the first one, just showing the difference between covenant and contract marriages. These I simply took off the web. They're not my own design, but they seem to say everything we need. Well, I think that we'll look at the right-hand one first, that a covenant is based on unconditional love between God, a husband and wife. There's a third person in a covenant relationship, because we can't keep a covenant on our own. Sacrificial action, I'll do it no matter what you do. It's based on mutual commitment. It seeks to give, and it's for life. It's till death us do part, richer, poorer, in sickness and in health, for better or for worse. The conditional contract is it's a contract between two people who say, I will do this and I expect you to do that. And it becomes then, I will do this if you do that. And it's based almost on mutual trust. I can't trust you to do that if I do this. And it's seeking to make oneself comfortable.
And can I ask you, because it's interesting, the tripartite covenant that you're talking about. Now, most of our supporters will be Christians, I think, although we have a lot of other faiths and a lot of no faith whatsoever. And most of my marriage work, when I'm invited to run marriage courses, is in churches. So you can talk about that, the fact that you've made a commitment to something greater than yourself, to God. And actually your promise is not to respond to the person kind of logically based on their reaction. Your promise is to behave in a certain way because you promised God.
I think that's absolutely correct. But I do come across, plenty of couples who've had the traditional marriage vows in a church, even though they may not have, be actively having God involved in their lives. But somehow or another, certainly the older generation, somehow or another, the fact that they made those vows makes them work at the marriage.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because there has to be something, and this is the sociological impact of marriage, something greater than you as a couple. So the love and respect thing we often talk about on these courses, that generally speaking, one side of the marriage needs to know that she's loved. The other side wants to know that he's respected. And one feeds the other upwards, but also the lack of one feeds the other downwards. And it relies on somebody saying, well, I'm not going to react to you. I'm going to react to the covenants, and I'm going to love anyway, or I'm going to respect anyway. And that brings the other back up again. But it takes a realization that this isn't a contract.
Yeah.
This isn't, this isn't a marriage is never 50-50. Sometimes it's 100-0, right? Because there are problems and things happen and someone's
Yeah.
shattered or something else.
I think for some people, it's the fact they've got children and family
Yep.
that is, if you like, the greater context.
Yep.
That gives them the motivation to work at it. The only problem is sometimes you find that as soon as there's an empty nest, then it all falls apart because the family is temporary too.
Well, that again, it comes back to this importance of covenant, that
Yes.
your covenant is not to your children, but to each other.
Yes.
And that again is the key thing. And you're absolutely right. People forget it, and children become everything. And then when they've gone, it's like, oh well, we didn't build anything between the two of us. It was just the kids, and they're not here anymore.
I think also the covenant is part of what we used to call leaving and cleaving.
Yep.
It is reprioritizing relationships.
Yep.
And I think sometimes the fact that someone hasn't really left their family, or their family are too influential, is often a cause of drifting.
Yes. Yeah. And I did some marriage work in Vietnam, and that was, I hadn't really prepared for the impact of that, actually, because that was the big thing everybody wanted to talk about all the time, was mothers-in-law. Because their society it's a very respectful society. There is no elder care provided by the state. You have to look after your own elders, and that's great because you've got, so their children, for example, well, the wives go out to work at a higher rate than our wives go out to work, but their children are much better adjusted, they're much better educated, they've got high levels of literacy because the grandparents look after them, because there is this they're not handed off to the state, if you like. There's this family kind of atmosphere and dynamic, which is great. But the point you're making comes out in volumes, that the leaving and the cleaving hasn't really worked itself out.
Yeah, it's really difficult, because I think in biblical times, when the leaving and cleaving was said to be what we should be doing, they was living in extended families. So the question is, what does it look like when the extended family are still living together? And I think in North India, where we lived for a while, we felt that because the parents didn't really have a close intimate relationship, the mother tended to make the relationship with the son. So then he was unable to make a relationship with his wife. And so it went down the generations.
How interesting.
It is, I mean, I think, living in multi-generation is wonderful. It has so many advantages, but there is that one sort of danger point for marriages.
I don't know how much we have that today. I mean, I would like, and I know your husband has spoken about this, Michael Schluter, the idea of incentivizing through the tax system people living nearer their parents.
Yes.
Because again, it's kind of inbuilt family care and inbuilt closeness, and it teaches, again, families, society, handing on customs and practices from one generation to the next, which you can still do while leaving and cleaving.
Yes.
Yeah. So you tell me when you think you want to switch slides, and
yes, I think we should look at the other one, because they're they're the same, but they're just different worded, different emphases, and it just helps people to realize there is a difference. So in the contract marriage, the obligation is I have to. In the covenant marriage, the obligation, it's an opportunity to actually, I want to, I've made these vows. The other one is, the contract is made in order the person feels safe. The covenant involves all that I am, and the contract is more about what I will do for you, not who I'm going to be. So it's much more conditional.
And you say marriage is a risky business, right?
It is risky business.
Yeah, tell me more about that, because that's absolutely true.
You don't actually know. The the chemistry helps you make the covenant.
Yeah.
But the chemistry, goes up and down over life. And you don't know. I didn't know that I was going to be, living in, I don't know how many different countries and continents through my life. You don't know what your life is going to bring. You don't know what children are going to be like, whether you'll be able to have them or not. But you don't know the losses and the gains. You have no idea what the journey is. So you are trusting that person whatever happens. And that is a huge risk to take. At the time, it doesn't feel a risk because you're so in love. And looking back, of course, yes, you say, yeah, I take that risk again. But actually, you don't know. We may come to it later. I was listening to a podcast from one of the people that I have done some training at a distance with, a guy called Tony Rucinski, who does relational life training, and he was talking about people not being willing to take risks that keep them connected because they're afraid of conflict, so they don't actually speak out what they
that's
really.
really interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, really interesting. Yeah,
So,
because you often, and you find that in relationships where one of the partners has got one of the marital partners has got a particularly emotionally explosive personality sometimes, and then that's never really gotten over. And so you end up, and you never end up dealing with that. And so you never end up dealing with real problems because you're always worried that the other person will explode.
Yeah, that's exactly what he was sort of addressing. And I think, I can see it in myself. I can see it in other members of the family. There's a conflict avoidance going on. It's the keeping the peace at any price. Well, not at any price. But you don't realize the price you might be paying.
Yeah. So it's like that phrase, happy wife, happy life. Well, kind of, but maybe not. You know, because sometimes there are things that both of you have got to deal with. And there's a book I once read, Crucial Conversations, and there's a sister book to it, Crucial Confrontations, and it's based around one of the examples in it was air traffic controllers. And how you've got these Asian air traffic controllers coming into JFK in New York. And there are a couple of examples, live examples that we gave where the control tower was saying, no, you're safe to land. And the pilot, the polite, respectful Asian pilot could see that there was a problem, but didn't want to say anything because they'd been told by the authority you're safe to land. And collisions almost took place. And because of that, they've had to retrain these pilots to say, no, you have to be more assertive and you have to overcome your culture because sometimes you have to speak up. And never more truer than within marriage, right?
But you learn things over time. Each marriage is unique,
so the other thing is how you learn how to make it safe to have those conversations. So I'm not attacking you because I love you with my life, but what I'm pitching this issue against us as a couple. So it's not me versus you; it's us versus the issue, and it's not me attacking you. And that takes a bit of navigating and a bit of practice. But if you both know you're trying to do that, it's everything.
The other thing to realize is that there are 3 levels of conversation happening all the time. This comes out of a book called Difficult Conversations, which was a Harvard project. And there's what is being said, the words, there's what is being felt, the feelings, the emotions, and underneath that, there's an identity issue. I'm either trying to protect or project the person I think I want you to see. Yeah. So that's for later on, I think. But it's well worth exploring.
Very good. Anything more on this particular page?
I think that, it's what I will do on the right-hand side. Trust. I will do this. No matter what. It's taking responsibility and saying, this is the person I want to be in this marriage. And I want to be it for your sake, rather than the, always wanting assurance that the other person is going to balance it. Well, actually, show the way, do your bit, and that's going to be more effective than making sure the other person's going to do their bit.
Yeah, and never more so. I mean, my wife is particularly good at this. You know, she doesn't hold a grudge. Do you know what I mean? It's like she'll realize that, well, I just need to let that go.
Yeah.
And she's much better at it than I am. And she's taught me a lot. Just let it go. You know, in the interest of the relationship, just let it go. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know whether you ever watch Madam Secretary, but
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good marriage, because they don't take on I mean, it's very challenging, the sort of life they're living, but they don't take on each other's stuff. It's one of them reacts badly, the other will say, where's that coming from? They don't take it personally.
Yeah. And if you know, if you both know, we are in it to win it, we are in it on the covenant, the long-term thing.
Yeah.
You then aren't worried that every argument is a divorce argument.
Yes.
Because you know, well, no, it's not that. And so there's something else going on, and we just need to sort out there's something else. Yeah. Brilliant. Listen, get hold of me when you're ready, and we'll do another one, and we'll pick it up where we left off. I think it's invaluable stuff. Really.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.